Hello and welcome to the Charm City Soccer Cast. My name is Jordan Wiegand and I'm your host here. If you didn't listen to that short little trailer that's in the feed before this episode, this is a podcast that is focused on Baltimore City soccer and talking about getting a USL team in Baltimore. So that is what we are kind of focusing on. We will talk Christos FC. We'll talk the Christos women's team. We'll probably talk some Maryland Bobcats. We'll talk Baltimore Blast at times. But the main thing that we'll be covering is updates on the path to getting a USL Championship team in Charm City. So let me tell you a little bit, I guess, about myself. My name is Jordan Wiegand. Like I said, I have a podcast that is focused on soccer as it already is, and that is Stateside Soccer Show, the Stateside Soccer Show with my college roommate, Logan Stump. And we talk all things Major League Soccer. And what we cover is Major League Soccer. We cover U.S. men's national team. We'll be covering the World Cup. We'll have lots of World Cup coverage this fall. So if you're looking for more World Cup coverage, fun things like that, we're going to be doing group previews, giveaways, stuff like that. You can follow that on the Stateside Soccer Show on all platforms as at Stateside Show if you're looking for them on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. So that's kind of my background recently when it comes to podcasting about soccer. I've always wanted to do a soccer podcast. I started one with my friends Logan and Matt. We did Stoppage Time, which focused on English football, Stoppage Time Soccer Show. That kind of fell apart after a certain time, and while we were doing that, I was doing Stateside Soccer Show by myself. And eventually Logan said, "Hey, let me join you on your quest to cover Major League Soccer on Stateside Soccer Show, talking U.S. men's national team." So he joined me for the 2021 season. And in that 2021 season, we had a great time. We started this season. We have continued to grow our, listenership or viewership on YouTube, all that kind of stuff. So I figured now as well, with that article coming out about this football team, this soccer team in Baltimore, I decided let's go ahead and launch this podcast idea that I've had for a long time, which I've had this name for a while, Charm City Soccer Cast. I came up with it because I really would like, if we ever got a team, then be called like Charm City Soccer Club, Charm City SC. So I took the same initials, Charm City SC, but for Soccer Cast. And that is kind of what I've been planning to do. I even was sitting on like a Twitter handle for it for a bit until this article came out. And then I said, all right, let's make the logo. I made the logo. Let's start getting this thing on the road. So that is what I've done. And I'm hoping that we can find some passionate fans as well who are also interested in getting USL Championship team to Baltimore, having a city, a stadium in the city. So again, talking about my history, I started watching soccer in 2006. That was really the first year I really watched soccer. I was a freshman in high school. The World Cup was going on during that time after my freshman year. My dad brought home FIFA World Cup 2006. We also bought the regular FIFA 06, and we played those games a lot. My friend Dave and I would play World Cup, and we would, start as like Fiji and try to get them all the way through qualification back when FIFA went through all the qualification and stuff. Nowadays, they don't really go that in depth with it, unfortunately, in the game. So we had a lot of fun with that. I was a USA fan along with a Germany fan since I have Germany heritage as well. So I like watching both of them. My first jersey was a Michael Ballack jersey for that 2006 World Cup. And that meant after that World Cup, Ballack was my favorite player. I said, where does he play? And I became a Chelsea fan. He moved to Chelsea FC. So that kind of worked out after getting, Christian Pulisic there, back in 2020 or 2019 now, I guess it was. So that was a lot of fun, right? I loved watching Chelsea. I got into Philadelphia Union, jumped on them when they first entered the league in 2010. In 2009 or 2010, I went to Chelsea versus AC Milan at Baltimore at M&T Bank Stadium, which was a good time. It was really crowded. It was awesome occasion. They had the FA Cups out. They had, I think, I guess it was a Premier League trophy and an FA Cup out. And I just got more and more involved with soccer. And in 2012, right, we had the Baltimore Bows come. And they played in Cedar Lane in Bel Air, which is not far from where I grew up. So I kind of emailed them after we went to a game or whatever. We went to the first game. It was the same day Chelsea won the Champions League in 2012. And I was somehow able to kind of get in touch with them, and I did volunteer work for them. So I would be taking the tickets at the front when you go to Cedar Lane. I would sell merchandise. I was just one of the workers there. I would help set up the field. Sometimes I'd be ball boy, right? There was one time they didn't have ball kids. I was out there ball boy. And they were a USL PDL team, which is pretty much the equivalent of USL League 2 at this point. And in 2016, they said they're taking a hiatus, right? And they have never come back, and they're defunct, which sucks. I have the Bows jersey still. They were my club. I loved following the Baltimore Bows. Great name, great jerseys. It was beautiful. So, also during that time, we had Man City versus Inter Milan at M&T Bank. We had Liverpool versus Tottenham at M&T Bank. I went to those games. Attendance kind of diminished in those each time. And just this past weekend, I went to Arsenal versus Everton, which had about 30 or 40,000 people there out of the 70,000 that can fit in Raven Stadium, which is great, but not as good as that Chelsea AC Milan game. But I do think if we had our own team, a team that we could call our own, a team we could get behind, like the Baltimore Orioles, the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore loves their sports teams. The Orioles' attendance is going up because they just don't suck as much as they used to. The Orioles were my first love. They were the first team I loved here growing up, and they are still a team that is constantly providing me joy. The Ravens are run historically well. Won 2 Super Bowls in my lifetime. I think we can have a third team. And the USL Championship, while it is not the top flight MLS, right? It is the top of USL. There's nowhere else they can go up unless if they expand into MLS at some point. But we can get behind that team. I really think we can. There was some good attendance for the Bows. They just didn't have a home. They were also a 4th division soccer team. If we had a second, or I guess equivalent first soccer team, I think the fans can get behind it. So I have history with Baltimore soccer. I've always wanted a team here. And I want teams to come here. I think that this is a good market. And we've had rumors about this stuff. If you Google USL Baltimore, you have articles going back to before we switched over to 2020, right? There's been articles about this type of thing for years. There's actually a rundown for it, I think, in this article that I'm pulling up here. So there was an article in the Baltimore Sun that was talking about the preview for Arsenal and Everton. And it says, but in the coming years, the sport could have an even more permanent foothold here, as there are multiple efforts to scout Baltimore as a home for an outdoor pro soccer team. Attempts to build a soccer-specific stadium and bring in a pro club are in the preliminary stages, but the Maryland Stadium Authority is conducting 2 studies. So here's the 2 studies. We're getting one that is a potential stadium site for an MLS Next Pro team, which is a reserve team for DC United. Another study is determined the feasibility of a 10,000 seat stadium which could host USL men's and women's teams. Then they have here about the near misses that we've had. In 2010, the Stadium Authority studied the possibility of a 10,000 seat soccer stadium near the Camden Yards complex. Then in 2017, USL president said he hoped Baltimore would have a team in the league by 2020. There were similar efforts and hopes in 2019. None have come to fruition. We also had Baltimore, who was trying to get a host city for World Cup 2026. That fell through. Philadelphia and Boston got those instead. Pete Karingi Jr., who is who's coached the Baltimore area Maryland Bays in the 90s, said he's seen Baltimore, a city rich in soccer history and youth development, passed over for professional teams in years since. But with seemingly increased interest now, he and others are more hopeful. I am as optimistic as I've been in a long time. That kind of gives me hope as we read this article. And here's the thing, too, in this Baltimore Sun article. Of the 30 largest cities in the U.S., per the 2020 census, all but 2 have a professional outdoor soccer team within 20 miles. Jacksonville and Baltimore are the exceptions. And they mention how we have a successful indoor team, the Baltimore Blast, amateur outdoor team, Christos FC, and that we don't have a venue. And Karingi again says it always comes back to having a stadium, a soccer-specific stadium that they can play in. That's what's held us back, I'd say, for the last 10 years. Paul Taberzi, a Baltimore attorney with DLA Piper, previously helped coordinate efforts to bring a USL team. He also served as the chairman of the Camden Yards Sports Commission, which put together the first international soccer exhibition at M&T Bank 2009 sellout between Chelsea and AC Milan. So I was there, and I was right that it was a sellout that first year. He said that Baltimore would be perfect for the USL, and that the USL keeps saying that they want to bring a team to Baltimore. So he thinks it's a question of when and not if. In a statement to the Baltimore Sun, the USL said last week that it believes Baltimore would fully embrace a professional club. So the Stadium Authority and the city of Baltimore are financing the study. That is costing them $62,000 to determine the feasibility of a 10,000-seat stadium. And one of the site areas is Port Covington in South Baltimore. This is the area that is being built up due to Under Armour's new facility there. So far, the primary tenant would be Right to Dream, which is a Ghana-based youth soccer academy, and that would also operate men and women's USL clubs in Baltimore. So what they said is that neither USL or Right to Dream gave a timeline, but one of Right to Dream stated goals is to launch a professional soccer club in the U.S. by 2025. So we could be 3 years away. They also are studying other possible locations that would be used for the MLS Next Pro, which is a new league in the third tier of American soccer. This is something that MLS is starting to not have their clubs play in USL, but to have them play against each other. And that is expected to take the remainder of the year. And a timeline for a potential team for that remains unclear. DC United would operate the team. They just mentioned stadiums for other USL teams like Colorado Springs, Colorado, Louisville, Kentucky. Took several years to be built. Yeah. They even have a quote from Tim Howard here, who noted that Baltimore has been long a hotbed for soccer. Yeah, we had 71,000 people there in 2009. We also used to do Gold Cup stuff. I've been to those games. We have the 10th highest rating on NBC Premier League telecasts in U.S. markets. So again, it is there. The market is there. I'll put a link to the article too, if you want to read the article. But this is Mayor Brandon Scott, who is going ahead and trying to get the study done. He's the one that authorized it along with the stadium thing here. That was... I can't read this article now. I'll still share it. I'll share this one, I guess. I'll share both of them. So there you have it. That is a pretty good update. We kind of have a timetable from that article of maybe in the next 3 years, if we're lucky. So Right the Dream also has academies in Egypt and in Denmark and Ghana. So Port Covington is the preferred site. Other sites are coming up in the study. There we go. That is pretty interesting. But yeah, they mention all the times that it came up. Here's our history of some teams, by the way. This is from a Athletic article by Pablo Maurer. 2017, we were linked. Again, 2019, as the other article said. We also had the Bohemians, as he mentions, 2012 to 2016. Crystal Palace, Baltimore, which was from 2006 to 2010 in USL 2. We had the Comets and the Bays in the North American Soccer League in the 60s and 70s. The Baltimore Blast, Major Arena Soccer League. And they play in Towson right now. So that's kind of the situation that we are in when it comes to getting a team. The study's going to take until the end of the year. So what does that mean for this show, right? I think right now we're probably going to not be doing weekly episodes. Probably would be something like a monthly or something like that in the meantime, as we build up to see what this situation is going to be like, as we hear more news, hopefully, throughout the year. Like I said, we're going to be also talking some of those other teams. One of those teams is Christos FC. If you don't recall, they were in the U.S. Open Cup a few years ago against DC United. I think it was 2017. They made a pretty good run against some teams. They got to DC United. They took a lead and then ended up losing like 3-1. I was at that game at Maryland Soccerplex. Well, this weekend, Christos beat Virginia Beach United 3-1. So Christos FC is, let's see, where they currently sit when we come to, I think I saw that they were in second place. And that was the last, that was the last week, I believe, of the season, from what I see. So the playoffs would start on Friday, July 22nd, and Christos faces Seacoast United Phantoms at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Kind of sucks it's on a 4:30 on a Friday, this Friday. It doesn't give anybody time to get there. That's the thing, too. I'm not even really sure where they play. That's what I have to look up here. It says, well, it looks like they'd be playing at the away stadium for this game. But I'm trying to see where their home stadium is. Banner Field. So this is Banner Field at Latrobe Park, which is in Baltimore. Fort Avenue, which is near Fort McHenry. So that's where they have them listed at. I haven't been able to get to one of their games, so I'm not too familiar with it. But it's like a football field, multi-purpose, football lines, soccer goals, field goal, all that kind of stuff. That's where it looks like they play at. So that's kind of where they are at right now. So they have a playoff game coming up this Friday. Again, very bad time, 4:30 in the afternoon. So not even many people will probably be able to sit and watch it. What game? What channel is it on? It's on. How do we watch? Doesn't even tell me how to watch. I think they had like a different app called 11 or something. Is how they were having games listed before. I don't know. That's what some of those games said here. But that's what it looks like right now. So they'll go ahead and play. So they were second in the Chesapeake division, and they're going to go up and face a team that was first in the Northeast, Seacoast United Phantoms. They finished with 37 points on the year. Christos finished with 28. So probably going to be a loss, right, is what you're thinking. But they have to go on the road. Can they beat them? Maybe. We'll see. It's interesting. I like reading all these names. I think some of these names are really cool when we talk about lower league soccer. Like, just some of these names are really great names for teams. So there you go. We also have the women's team. The USL Women's League just finished up a day or two ago. And it was, that was. Oh, no. They play on Saturday. Sorry. So they play on Saturday. It's Minnesota Aurora versus Tormenta. And Christos did not qualify for this. So they're a little tougher to get through the playoffs for the women's team. The Christos women's team were in the Mid-Atlantic division. They finished second. They didn't move out of their division. They had 19 points. McLean Soccer, who was first in the Mid-Atlantic division, had 27 points. And this was their first year. That was their first year in the league. So a good start, I guess, for Christos Women's. And I'm hoping maybe we can get to a game like that next year sometime. And then we'll look at right now, before we pack it up for this first edition of the show, we'll be looking at NISA, the National Independent Soccer Association, which has the Maryland Bobcats. They play in Boyd's, Maryland, which is that soccerplex, is where they play. And we'll take a look at where they currently sit in the league. We have them listed as third place in the East Division. They have 15 points. They've played 11 games. Syracuse Pulse is below them, have played 14 and have less points. So they actually have some games in hand here, the Bobcats. which means they can still conceivably make those playoffs. The third place is the last cutoff spot out of 5 for the East Division. So Bobcats are currently in a playoff spot with 4 wins, 3 draws, and 4 losses on the year. 17 goals scored, 14 against. And Syracuse Pulse, Flower City Union below them, Michigan Stars and Chattanooga above them. That's really it when we're talking about Baltimore soccer right now. Maybe a little bit of uplifting news with the articles. I'll put the link of the article URLs in the show notes as well. Take your time to review us on iTunes and Spotify if possible. Help other people locate Charm City Soccercast. More passionate Baltimore fans that will hopefully gravitate to a team once we have one, or gravitate to news if we have some. Again, if you're very passionate about it, I said this on the trailer, but you can reach out to me on Gmail at charmcitycast@gmail.com, or you can reach out to me on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, Charm City Cast, for all of those. And I'm looking for potential co-hosts if you're interested. If you're passionate about getting soccer to Baltimore, you can reach out to me. If not, cool. If you just want to leave me a voicemail, there's a voicemail link in the show notes as well. But that's it. I hope everyone's excited for a potential team. I'm hoping this time it's actually real. It's actually going to happen. And we'll follow this journey throughout the rest of this year. So thank you for watching or listening, and have a great rest of your day.